Hi folks, welcome back to Three Burrow Farm. My name is Amy and I live here with my family of 5 in central Victoria, Australia. And it is so sunny today, despite the fact that it's only going to get up to 9 degrees here. And we had a very heavy frost this morning. But the good thing about a frost is that you end up with a sunny day afterwards. So in this garden behind me, this is technically vegetable plot number 1, but it has been the 3rd one that we have established in our garden. So in the past, we have grown just sunflowers in this bed here. It's just been one big row. We haven't really finished it off properly. As you can see, there is lots of cardboard that we've been collecting to finish off this garden bed, and it's going to be our more perennial garden bed with the rhubarb and possibly strawberries and such in this section here. And as you can see here, we've still got tons of rhubarb growing. It's pretty floppy from the frost this morning. But the rhubarb is still growing. A lot of the rhubarb in this area has already gone dormant, but ours seems to be quite happy. The leaves are still nice and big and green. And as you can see, there are some flowers starting to come up. And we just snap those flowers off at the base. And it just keeps developing. So this rhubarb has come from about 3 plants that we had in the front garden, and we just dug them up and they had several crowns within the plants. So we've separated them and we popped them along here last winter and they're doing really, really well. Some of the varieties get much longer than the others, and these really short ones get really, really fat. So rhubarb is so very easy to grow and to harvest. You don't want to eat the leaves, of course, because they are very, very high in oxalate and poisonous to most animals and people. These stems are also high in oxalate, so you want to cook them up just like you would with spinach and silver beet. But they are a delicious fruit to have, especially in winter time. You can have them with apple and make a crumble. I love apple and rhubarb crumble. It is delicious. And I also have a favorite muffin recipe that I like to make with rhubarb as well. And sometimes I will turn that muffin recipe into a cake instead of muffins, and it is just so moist and delicious, really, really yummy. So rhubarb is pretty much the only thing that is growing in this bed. There were some sunflowers coming up in late autumn, but the frost has gotten to them, which I suspected would happen. I'm really looking forward to extending this bed to its proper size and getting some strawberries in the ground here. Okay, so vegetable plots number 2 and 3 are looking pretty shabby at the moment. There is a lot of cleaning up that needs to happen in these beds, and I'm planning on focusing my time out here to these particular beds before I start extending the first garden bed. So there are a lot of brassicas and root vegetables and herbs growing in this garden, along with a huge amount of calendula that's just come up everywhere. I've also got some mints and cat mints that are doing okay even in the frost. The oregano that I had growing in the vegetable garden here has gone dormant. So have the dandelions and the nettle that I've also had growing in this bed here. So I was finding it difficult to look after all my herbs out in the front garden. They were sort of getting bombarded and grown over by all of the flower and native plants we have in the front garden. So I ended up planting a whole heap of them in my vegetable plots for the moment anyway, just to keep an eye on them and make sure they're growing well, and they're doing really well in here. One thing I've been doing every single week at the moment is collect lots of manure from the farm. So alpacas do their poos in piles, which is really convenient when you want to collect your manure on your farm. You can just go to a pile and scoop it up, and I have been bringing back wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow of alpaca poo with some sheep poo as well, and I've been putting it straight onto the garden beds. I have also been collecting the chicken poo, but that poo I have been putting into the compost bins so that it can decompose a little bit more. I don't want to be putting the chicken poo straight onto my beds because it will burn the leaves on the plants. I have been suspecting, and now I have been proven correct, that the chickens have been getting into this section of my garden. They have spread some of the mulch that I have popped along this row here, and I've also been putting the alpaca manure around here. They haven't scratched up where the manure is, so that's good. But I've been putting the manure and the mulch that I've collected from the chickens' nesting boxes on and around my plants. And it's working really well at keeping all the moisture in. And also the plants are looking so much happier, even though the chickens have come along and eaten some of their leaves. So as you would imagine, there's not a huge amount to show you in the winter garden. So winter solstice is coming up on the weekend, and the days will only get longer from there on. There is so much to do always in a garden when you're trying to grow food, and my aim at the moment is the health of the soil. So I'm adding lots of manure, and I'm also very excited that my composts that have been going for quite a while now, some of them have been going for 6 months, some have been going for a year, but they are pretty much ready to put on the beds, which is really exciting. It is so worth making your own compost from your food scraps and leaves and paper and the nesting box, bedding. All of that stuff is really worth putting into a compost bin and making your own compost with it. So I still have quite a bit of cleaning up to do in the garden as well, and lots of weeding. I'm looking forward to getting some sawdust and bark down in the pathways to keep on top of the weeds in that section, and I will be putting newspaper down as well to suppress the weeds that have come up and the weed seeds that have blown into our garden in the last season. And it'll be really nice to try and stay on top of it so that when we get to spring and the growth is just insane, we don't have to battle with all of the weeds also getting out of control. So that's all I really have time for today, and that's all I really have to share with you on this tour. It's a very short one because we are in winter, and I did get all of my winter vegetables in the ground a bit late in autumn. So I'm a bit behind, but there is always the prospect of next season getting things in at the right time. I hope you are staying nice and warm on these cold days. At least we have the sunshine up here in central Victoria. It is glorious, and I hope you are enjoying your garden. I will see you again soon. Bye.